Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that's, well, more critical than ever in this information age we live in: open source intelligence. OSINT.
hmm
Now, you might think of OSINT as just, a bunch of cool tools or tricks, but our sources today really make a strong case for getting back to basics.
That's absolutely right. It's a common thing, actually. A lot of newcomers, they gravitate right to the tools,
Yeah,
which, becomes a problem when those tools break or maybe they become unavailable. And look, automation, visualization tools, they're huge aids, no doubt,
sure.
but they can't analyze the work for you. They can't do the job for you. The real foundation, the methodology, that's the intelligence cycle.
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the entire OSINT intelligence cycle, start to finish,
All the steps.
all the steps, and reveal those crucial practices that make OSINT investigations really effective, but also, importantly, ethical and safe. We're pulling insights from the Sin Windy series, Sands, Bellingcat, Michael Bizel, some heavy hitters.
Absolutely. Good sources.
Okay, let's unpack this. So our sources tell us the very first step, the starting line, is planning and direction. What does that phase actually entail, and why is it so critical?
Well, think of it like this. You wouldn't set off on a big road trip without a map, right? Or at least a destination in mind.
Right. No.
This is where the analyst figures out the investigative requirements,
Mm-hmm.
outlines the specific questions that need answering, notes any special circumstances, anything unusual.
Okay.
Going into OSINT without that plan, it can just make things take way longer. Or, worst case, you risk getting detected because you missed some technical detail or didn't have the right setup ready.
Makes sense. So what are the key steps then? If I'm an investigator starting out, what should I be doing in this planning phase?
Okay, good question. First, identify what questions need answering. Like, actually write them down.
Okay.
Often there's one main question, right? Like, who's behind this online account?
Right. The big one.
Yeah, the big one. And then smaller sub-questions branch off that. What's their real name?
Right.
What country are they in? Roughly how old are they? Are they on other platforms? Stuff like that.
Mm.
And it's totally fine to add or remove questions as you go. The investigation evolves. Second, identify what platforms you might need access to.
Preparation.
Exactly. Set up the accounts you'll need, get the software or hardware ready beforehand. Most mainstream social media, you just need a sock puppet account, a fake one,
Right, the burner.
the burner. And maybe email or phone verification. But sometimes, for really tight-knit groups, the requirements can be way higher. You might even need someone to vouch for you.
Wow, okay.
Third, you need to assess the technical capabilities of your target. This gives you a sense of, like, how likely are they to make technical mistakes? Or could they actually detect you snooping around?
That's important.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb is always take precautions at a level higher than what you think the target's abilities are. Better safe than sorry. And finally, determine your end goal. What does success look like? Set reasonable goals, manage expectations. Is it going to be a written report? Are you notifying authorities? Something else.
Right.
Knowing that end goal really drives the whole investigation. It helps you make decisions all the way through the other phases.
It really sounds like laying that groundwork properly is just paramount.
Yeah.
It reminds me of how vital clear objectives are in pretty much any project, right?
Exactly.
So beyond those steps, what else should someone keep top of mind when they're planning?
Well, this brings up some really crucial best practices that other experts emphasize. One is establishing legal and ethical boundaries.
Okay, the big one.
Yeah, often called the no hacking rule. OSINT is strictly about using publicly available information, period.
Right, public only.
Any kind of intrusion, unauthorized access that crosses the line into illegal activity, compromises everything, your integrity, the investigation.
Got it.
Another is operational security, OPSEs, and risk assessment. Before you even start collecting, you need to think about potential threats from the target and plan how to protect yourself, your identity.
So this is where the tech setup comes in again.
Absolutely. Using a secure setup, dedicated virtual machines maybe, VPNs definitely, and those sock puppet accounts we talked about. All to stay under the radar, especially if you're dealing with high-risk targets.
Makes sense.
And tying back to your point about objectives, having a clear scope and a targeted collection plan is just vital.
Okay.
Define those specific intelligence needs and limit the scope. This stops you from falling into data hoarding.
Just grabbing everything.
Yeah, just grabbing everything you see or searching randomly. It makes the investigation way more efficient. And importantly, it avoids collecting tons of irrelevant or excessive personal data. that can raise serious privacy red flags.
So yeah, a solid plan from the get-go really is your best defense against just drowning in all that data out there.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so your plan is solid. Now it's time to actually gather the information. This gets us to collection, which, as our sources point out, is where a huge chunk of time and effort usually goes.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes sense, right? Without proper data collection, the whole investigation lacks the necessary fuel. You end up with gaps, inaccurate analysis.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly that. You don't know what you don't know. So our sources have some top recommendations for this phase.
Let's hear them.
First one sounds obvious, but it still happens. Disassociate from personal accounts.
Still happens, really.
Yeah. It's highly, highly recommended. Never use a personal account for OSINT. Ever.
Why is that so critical?
Because apps, social media, they siphon off so much data. They can fingerprint users across different accounts, link your real identity to your investigation.
Ah, okay.
So use those VPNs, virtual machines, dedicated hardware if necessary. Your sock puppet and your real accounts should exist in totally separate universes, never interact.
Right.
This avoids those nightmare scenarios, like accidentally liking a Target's post from your real account or forgetting to set your LinkedIn viewing to private. Oops.
Yeah, that would be bad. Okay, what's next?
Second principle, collect first, analyze later.
Why?
Because some online content is incredibly fleeting. It can vanish. Websites get taken down, posts get deleted.
Sure.
So the collection phase isn't the time to stop and ponder every little detail. Save it, screenshot it, download it, archive it, then move forward. If you have even the slightest doubt about whether something might be valuable later, grab it.
Err on the side of caution.
Exactly. It's way easier to sort through extra stuff later than to wish you'd saved something that's gone forever. Third, start broad, then narrow as needed.
Okay, how does that work?
When you're collecting, think in terms of multiple passes. Your first pass, your initial searches, should be really broad, cast a wide net.
Right.
Then, based on what you find, each following pass gets more specific, more restricted. Don't start too narrow, or you risk missing relevant stuff right out of the gate.
So dealing with some false positives is better than missing the key piece.
Absolutely. Far better to sift through some noise than to lose the signal because your search was too tight. False negatives are the real enemy here. Fourth, set up filters and alerts for ongoing collection.
Ah, for things that are still unfolding.
Precisely. Collection often isn't a one-time task. New information can pop up, especially for ongoing events or active targets. Using alerts on platforms like Google Alerts or TweetDeck for Twitter can automate that follow-up.
Frees you up.
Yeah, it lets you focus on other searches while the system notifies you if something new appears. It streamlines things hugely. And fifth, document when and how pivots occur.
Pivots, meaning?
Meaning those moments when you find one piece of information that leads you down a new path, a new direction in the investigation.
Ah.
It's crucial, especially in long investigations, to remember how you found specific things. Where did that lead come from? You'll need that when you brief managers or officials. They will ask about the data's origin.
Right, the chain of discovery.
Exactly. Screen recording software can be a lifesaver here, or just meticulous notes.
Wow, it's a lot of discipline, isn't it? It's not just finding stuff, it's doing it methodically, safely, strategically.
That's the core of it.
So, what other collection strategies do the experts recommend? How do you approach the actual gathering?
Well, that brings up a key distinction, passive versus active collection.
Okay, what's the difference?
Passive OSINT is all about quietly gathering what's already publicly out there. You're just looking, reading public website, public profiles.
Yeah.
No direct interaction with the target.
Low profile.
Very low profile. Minimizes risk. Doesn't alert the target. Active OSINT, on the other hand, involves some kind of engagement.
Like sending a friend request.
Exactly. Or probing a network, interacting with a system. It can definitely yield deeper intelligence, but it comes with a much higher risk of detection.
And potential legal issues.
And potential legal or ethical consequences, absolutely. So investigators have to weigh things up. The mission needs, the time they have, their risk tolerance.
Right.
And choose the right approach, or maybe a blend of both.
Makes sense. What else?
Another really essential practice is leveraging OSINT toolkits and frameworks.
Ah, like resource lists.
Kind of, but more structured. The OSINT world is huge, right? No single tool finds everything. These frameworks, like the OSINT framework by Justin Nordin, is a well-known example.
I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It provides this curated web of tools and links, often sorted by the type of information you're looking for.
So it saves time and avoids missing things.
Exactly. It helps you discover sources you might have overlooked, save time, and it imposes a kind of structure on your collection process, making sure you cover the important categories.
Okay, so you've planned, you've collected, now you have this maybe slightly chaotic pile of raw data. That brings us to processing. Our sources say this might not be the most exciting phase.
Huh. Yeah, it's definitely not the Hollywood part of OSINT.
But absolutely crucial, they stress.
It really is. What's fascinating about processing, though, is how it takes that raw stuff and refines it, makes it actually usable for analysis later. It cuts down the time needed for the next phase significantly.
So how do you typically approach processing? What are the steps?
Well, my usual workflow involves a few key things. First, transcribe, translate, and decode.
Making it understandable.
Pretty much. If you can't understand the info, it's useless, right?
Yeah.
So, translate foreign languages, decrypt codes if you encounter them, decode weird file types into something human-readable.
And for audio-video.
Transcribe it. Get the text down. That way you can scan for keywords instead of listening to hours of audio. And always check files for metadata or hidden text. You'd be surprised what's buried in there sometimes.
Good tip. Okay, what's next?
Second, consolidate and reduce. The goal here is to shrink the sheer volume of raw info going to the analyst.
Right, filter it down.
Exactly. You might have a PDF with, say, 10,000 tweets, but maybe only 10 or 20 are actually relevant to your questions. So you extract only the relevant bits. Group similar stuff together. Put it all in one file if possible, a PDF, a spreadsheet, just to reduce the number of different places the analyst has to look.
Makes analysis much easier, I imagine.
Way easier. Third, organize and retain raw intelligence.
Wait, retain even the stuff you filtered out?
Yes. Just because it's filtered for the main analysis doesn't mean you delete it. Keep it available. It's part of your audit trail.
Ah, okay.
Use really clear file names, logical folder structures, maybe organized by platform, then username, with file names hinting at key findings. Makes it searchable later if you need to go back. Fourth, generate a timeline. If your intelligence has time or date info, map it out.
Visually.
Can be visual or just a chronological list. Timelines are incredibly powerful. They help track events, show activity patterns, reveal relationships you might totally miss otherwise.
And help estimate times for other things.
Yeah, it can help you approximate timings for events where you don't have a precise date. And fifth, leverage spreadsheets. Seriously underrated tool.
Really? Spreadsheet?
Oh yeah. Super versatile for viewing, sorting, manipulating raw data. Plus, they're often the format you need to feed data into analysis tools like Maltego or I2.
Ah, visualization tool.
Right. Converting data to a spreadsheet lets you do quick calculations, make simple charts, and just get a good high-level overview.
This really does highlight all that crucial behind-the-scenes work, doesn't it? The stuff that makes the later analysis even possible.
It's the foundation for good analysis.
So, beyond just organizing, what else should we be thinking about when we're refining this data pile?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, this phase is fundamentally about quality control, ensuring the trustworthiness of your data.
Right, verification.
Data verification and source vetting.
Yeah.
Absolutely critical. You have to filter out the false positives, the fakes, the irrelevant noise, and you must evaluate the credibility of your sources.
Avoids that garbage in, garbage out problem.
Exactly. That's the core risk.
Yeah.
Bellingcat, for instance, they're masters at this. Verifying images by checking metadata, cross-referencing with satellite views, corroborating details.
That deep dive verification.
That's it. Another method is using a structured reliability rating.
Like a grading system.
Yeah, pretty much. Formal frameworks like the 3x5x2 system add real rigor. It forces you to assign codes for source reliability like A to E and information accuracy like 1 to 5.
So you have to justify your confidence level.
Precisely. It makes you articulate why you trust something or why you don't, and it pushes you to find corroborating evidence. And finally, tying back to retaining raw data. Maintain an audit trail through documentation and archiving.
Keep detailed record.
Meticulous records. Log your searches, timestamps, take screenshots, download key findings. This ensures transparency, accountability. It protects against data getting deleted or changed later.
And crucial for legal stuff, I bet.
Absolutely crucial if things ever go to court. You need that clear evidentiary trail.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The processed information is ready. Now it transforms into actual insights. Our sources call analysis and production the phase where, quote, the magic happens.
Huh. Yeah, you could say that. This is really where an investigator earns their stripes.
How so?
It's about taking all that refined processed data and analyzing it, condensing it, figuring out the key takeaways, spotting the trends, developing actionable recommendations. Honestly, no matter how good your collection is, it's the analysis and how well you can convey what it all means that really sets a great investigator apart.
So what are the key tips here? How do you do that effectively?
Okay, first and foremost, answer the original questions.
Back to the planning phase.
Right back to the start. Remember those questions you wrote down. Use them as your guide. A huge part of this phase is using the intelligence to directly answer those questions and any new ones that popped up along the way. Keep focused.
What if you can't answer everything?
That's perfectly normal, and that leads to the second point. Call out intelligence gaps.
Be upfront about what you don't know.
Exactly. Explicitly state any relevant gaps, any questions you couldn't answer. It shows thoroughness, and it also points towards what needs more research in the next cycle.
Feeding back into the process.
Always. Now, this next one is crucial for avoiding bias. Use competing theories to reduce confirmation bias.
That trap of only seeing what fits your theory.
It's so easy to fall into. So actively challenge yourself. Take relevant pieces of intelligence. Does this support my current theory? Put it in one column. Does it disprove it? Put it in another column. Look at both.
Don't discard inconvenient evidence.
Never. Don't discard relevant intelligence just because it messes up your favorite theory. Let the data tell the story. Don't force it. Fourth, constantly evaluate relevance, bias, and reliability.
Still vetting the info.
Always. Not all intelligence is created equal.
Right.
Consider the validity, the potential bias, the reliability of each piece. Maybe even rank these for your audience in the final report. And be super mindful of deliberate disinformation campaigns. They're everywhere.
Yeah, increasingly so.
And fifth, convey high-level information visually.
Pictures tell 1,000 words.
Sometimes they do. Especially for patterns, trends, complex connections, visuals charts, graphs, maps, network diagrams. They give that instant quick glance understanding,
Right.
Stuff that would take pages of text to explain. You can always put the full data in an appendix, but the analyst's job is to synthesize it, make it easily consumable.
That really does sound like the hardest part, maybe the most rewarding too. Separating that signal from all the noise.
It's where the value is truly added.
Are there other best practices for analysis that we should touch on?
Definitely. If we connect that in the bigger picture again, one really crucial practice is multi-source fusion.
Combining OSINT with other stuff?
Exactly. OSINT rarely lives in a vacuum. Its value just explodes when you correlate it with other info streams, maybe human intelligence, maybe classified info if you have access, internal company data. Fusing OSINT with other sources helps validate findings, fill those intelligence gaps we mentioned, and leads to much richer, more comprehensive, more actionable insights.
Makes sense. The whole picture.
Right. Another key technique is visual and link analysis.
We touched on visuals, but link analysis.
Yeah, using specific tools and techniques, link charts showing connections between people or groups, timelines, maps. These can reveal insights that are just not obvious from reading text.
Like hidden networks.
Exactly. Network graphs can expose key players, hidden connections in social networks, financial flows. These visuals don't just help the analyst think, they make the intelligence way easier to explain to others in the final report.
Powerful tools.
Very. Also, don't underestimate peer review and collaboration.
Getting a second pair of eyes.
Or third, or fourth. Having others review your analysis is invaluable. They can catch biases you missed, errors, maybe suggest alternative hypotheses you hadn't considered.
Like Bellingcat does.
Bellingcat is a prime example. They're researchers, journalists. They often share methods, cross-verify each other's work. It builds robustness.
That makes a lot of sense. But this brings up a tricky point you alluded to earlier, deciding what actually goes into the final product, especially sensitive details. How do you make that call?
That's where you need ethical analytical judgments. It's a tough balance. A really useful framework here is the need-value-consequence test.
Need-value-consequence.
Okay. For every piece of potentially sensitive info, ask 3 questions. 1, is this detail absolutely needed to answer the core intelligence question? 2, does it add significant value to the product? And 3, could including it cause a negative consequence? Harm someone, distract from the main point, violate privacy unnecessarily.
So just because you found it doesn't mean you use it.
Exactly. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. This test helps keep the final product focused, protects privacy where possible, and upholds your ethical integrity.
Okay, so we've meticulously planned, strategically collected, carefully processed, insightfully analyzed. Now the final step, dissemination. getting your product out there. But as our sources emphasize, this isn't really the end of the cycle, is it?
No, not at all. That's a key misunderstanding sometimes. While yes, dissemination is about sharing that final analytical product, it critically includes setting up a feedback loop.
Ah, feedback.
Yes. So the consumers, the people receiving the intelligence, can offer their thoughts, ask more questions, maybe point out things you missed.
And that feedback.
That feedback then feeds directly back into the planning phase for the next intelligence cycle. It's what makes it a cycle, ensures continuous improvement.
Right, closing the loop. So what are your recommendations for effective dissemination?
Okay, number 1. Don't forget the BLUF,
BLU.
bottom line up front.
Ah, the executive summary, basically.
Kind of, yeah. A short, concise summary, put it right at the top in the email, on the web page, whatever. It needs to hit all the important details and clearly show why the reader needs to pay attention.
Grab their attention immediately.
Exactly. You're competing for their time. This is your pitch. Make it count. Second, and this is crucial, properly mark or redact sensitive information.
Protecting the info even after release.
Absolutely. Once it's out there, especially to a wider group, there's always a risk it could spread further than intended. So comb through everything. Mark it with the right classifications, distribution limits.
And redact.
Redact or just remove sensitive details that the consumer doesn't strictly need to know. Maybe specific sources you need to protect, methods you don't want public, info about ongoing collection.
And check screenshots.
Oh, definitely. Double, triple check screenshots for any stray info about your sock puppet accounts. That's an easy mistake to make.
Good point. Okay, third.
Third, tailor distribution. This is a balancing act.
How so?
Well, you don't want to blast it out to everyone necessarily, but you also don't want to give it to just one person, creating an information silo.
Right. Risk versus reach.
Exactly. Siloing limits leaks but hinders impact. Broadcasting increases risk. So a good approach is usually to provide it to key consumers across different relevant teams. Avoids a single point of failure, ensures the right people see it, and finally, maintain open channels for feedback. We keep coming back to this, but it's vital.
Closing that loop again.
Right. Intelligence is ongoing. Without feedback, analysts might keep making the same mistakes, or their products might drift away from what the consumers actually need.
So make it easy for people to respond.
Always provide a clear contact for feedback. And listen to it. Often your audience has deep working knowledge of the topic. They can point out new gaps, suggest new requirements that directly drives the next round of planning and collection.
So dissemination isn't just dropping off a report. It's really about sparking that next iteration of the whole cycle. Constant refinement.
That's the ideal, yes.
Yeah.
Continuous improvement based on real-world use and feedback.
Wow. What a deep dive into the OSINT Intelligence Cycle. We've really walked through it all, haven't we? Planning, setting the stage.
The roadmap.
Collection, gathering the raw material.
Sometimes mountains of it.
Processing, refining it down.
Making it manageable.
Analysis, transforming it into actual understanding.
Finding the meaning.
And dissemination, sharing that insight, but crucially feeding right back to the start. It's this continuous dynamic process, so much more than just, using a few cool tools.
Absolutely. And if we connect it back to that bigger picture, mastering this cycle,
Yeah.
it isn't just about finding bits of information online.
Yeah.
It's really about developing that critical thinking, that methodical approach you need to navigate complexity, to discern truth from noise, to handle the ethical dimensions responsibly, and ultimately to turn raw data into something truly actionable, real insight.
A powerful skill set in today's world. So, thinking about everything we've unpacked, what intelligence questions will you, listening right now, tackle next, now that you're equipped with this powerful cycle?